It is Friday, the 4th of October, and we made it through a week of school and a week of heat. We're going to start with a look at Sutra Tower, and you can see San Bruno Mountain in the distance with Elko right behind it. We got some high clouds moving through the bay today as we had some monsoon and moisture coming in, but it was still a hot day, even with the clouds. Look at this. So 60s along the coast because there was still an onshore influence, but we still made it to the upper 80s in Elko, Brisbane, mid 80s in South City, 82 in San Francisco and the airport, and then low to mid 80s down the peninsula. But about those temperatures, so around 88 degrees at 12:15 from the Altaloma weather station. But the onshore wind did return and it was windy for a few minutes. And look at the temperatures. It went down to 67 degrees at 12:50. So that's about a 21-degree drop within barely an hour's time. And it happened again, so around 78 degrees after school, but then it plummeted back into the upper 60s a few minutes later. With that, here's the headlines. The autumn heat wave makes a comeback this weekend. Peaks around tomorrow. Will be similar on Sunday, but a little bit cooler. And then if you're really looking for cooler temperatures, that's in store for next week. So we're almost there. But first, another excessive heat warning in the city and county of San Francisco, and of course us here in San Mateo County. The coast will be under a heat advisory as cool temps will be around the 70s and the hot spots in the 90s. In the excessive heat warning, SF could get up to 94 degrees, South City could get up to around the upper 90s. With the almanac, the averages are about the same, but the record high of 95 degrees for this day back in 1987. The sun will set at 6:47 this evening after it rose at 7:09 this morning. Looking at the big picture, the heat dome is back and it's bringing in more heat for this weekend and preventing any storms from cooling us down. So with that, here are the morning temperatures. A little bit similar to this morning in the low to mid to upper 50s, but let's take a look at the hour-by-hour Coltcast. Back to 80 degrees by 10 a.m. And look at this, by 12 to 2 o'clock, back into the 90s at Elko. And for those who are going to be attending that Key Club prep event at school, keep in mind it's going to be hot for most of this time at Elko. Going to cool down into the 80s, of course, in the afternoon as the onshore wind does return. But let's take a look at the rest of the peninsula. So, cool spot in the 80s along the coast, but back into the low to mid 90s on the east side of the peninsula, like Elko, San Francisco, Brisbane, South City, and of course down the peninsula. And with that, the heat risk is back to a major heat risk for the east side of the peninsula, but the coast is still under a moderate heat risk, which is not as bad, but it's still really hot. And with that, we still have a spare the air alert because of this heat. And the main pollutant is particulate matter, and we'll be having moderate air quality for most of the weekend. With the heat, still keep in mind codes of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. If you have any of these symptoms regarding both of these conditions, stay cool, or if it gets to a heat stroke, contact emergency services because a heat stroke is very serious. And with that, here's the 1 week Coltcast. Another day highlighted in purple because of that excessive heat warning. Then we cooled down into the 80s by Sunday, then 70s by Monday and Tuesday. And look at this, we haven't seen this in a while. 60s for a high for the next few days next week. And then lows in the low 50s. And we'll have the marine layer once again. So another heat wave coming in this weekend, but normal autumn weather is on its way for next week. So have a great weekend, Colts, and stay cool.